we return to Warframe. It's been nearly 3 months since I've sat down and really played Warframe or talked about it here on the channel, and for good reason. As many of you guys know, and as many of you maybe don't know, I spent a lot of time after the holidays really looking at the future of the channel. You know, as I was moving away from Titanfall 2, I didn't really want to focus on one game anymore. I didn't want to make content around one game. I wanted to build what I've always wanted to build, sort of my dream here on YouTube, and what I started doing YouTube with, a real, genuine variety channel that was about diversity in its content and doing a lot of fun, big edited pieces like the Letters from Gaming, but also doing more casual discussion-based stuff like Mondays with Mo. And at the same time, I was always thinking about how I could bring certain games back into the fray. But when the whole thing started, I knew that it was more important for me to just kind of start working on those other things and let everything else kind of fall into place. So even though I was really enjoying my time with Warframe and genuinely enjoying documenting my progress and creating discussion around my experience as a newer player, I just wasn't sure at that point in time where Warframe could or would fit in the future of the channel. Fast forward though, and I'm ready to bring it back. I'm excited to bring it back. I'm excited to start playing Warframe again. The game, you know, obviously grabbed my attention a long time ago, and while I didn't put any real time or effort into it in its earliest days, I think now more than ever Warframe is a game worth playing, worth dedicating time to. And as I'm slowly making my way into the game's lore and becoming more connected to its world, that relationship between myself and Warframe is growing ever stronger. So we're going to be picking up right where I left off, like almost exactly where I left off, because I haven't played pretty much since the last time I made a Warframe video. Last night was the first time I really sat down, had a good session, actually started crafting the Limbo Near Optic because I am currently doing Limbo Theorem, and just started making my way back into the game. So each and every Wednesday, right here on the channel, that's once a week, we're going to have a new Warframe video that's going to not only look to document my progress as a newer player and talk about the things that I'm learning and how I'm growing, but also as a chance to create discussion around Warframe as a new player, talk about things that I think DE could do to improve the new player experience, or just to improve the core gameplay loop as a whole in relation to the new player experience. So today, I want to talk a little bit about mission types, because last night I had my first go at the Defection mission type, which of course sees you escorting some Grineer defectors to an extraction point, while pretty much everything that the Grineer has is being thrown at them, including infected in this case. You know, you've got Grineer Manics that show up at the med booster locations and try and just annihilate these Grineer. It was actually a mission type that I really enjoyed, and I think that says a lot when it comes to DE's ability to make escort missions that aren't as typically as frustrating as escort missions are. When you think of an escort mission, you usually think of instant facepalm, especially if it involves escorting an actual AI of some sort and not just inanimate object that you can just pick up and manipulate at will. When we think of other games that do escort missions, we think of that individual that wanders out into the street and gets hit by a car in GTA. We think of that individual that gets stuck behind a wall and then killed by a pursuing enemy because they somehow didn't know they needed to walk around the wall. It can be really frustrating at times, but I will say that for the most part, when you do like rescue missions, and now that I've done the Defection missions, DE just programs their AI to just go from one point to the next, and they do a pretty good job at that, like probably 99% of the time, at least in my experience, and that was very much the case here with the Defection missions. The reason I really fell in love with this mission type, though, was because of its sort of stop-and-go combat loop, especially as you push further and further into the location, and you have to pull Grineer deeper and deeper out of, well, what is now enemy Grineer territory. You're moving not just between the point where you initially reach the Grineer and the extraction point, but also between multiple med boosters. So now you're actually looking to harvest med booster energy from the many enemies in the location so you can recharge their health and get them ready to go from one location to the next to keep as many of them alive as possible. Now, I will say that I only got to really get a taste of this mission type because before I could really hang around any longer, the mission got harder than I could handle for my current power level. In fact, some Red Belt operatives showed up and started basically handing my ass to me. But nonetheless, that experience that I did have for like that 13 or 15 minutes was just really enjoyable. Honestly, I know people just like to go fast in Warframe, right? Like the parkour and just going ninja Tenno fast is it's a huge Warframe thing. I totally get that. But I actually enjoy Warframe the most when I'm going fast and having to think about how I'm going fast. So stop and go combat. It's why I always said I would be A-okay had Warframe had a hybrid super go fast system and a cover based system, kind of like Vanquish. You know, Vanquish kicked ass as a cover based shooter because it wasn't just about going behind cover. Cover was there to allow you to regenerate your health, which I think would work perfectly in Warframe. But the majority of your time was spent going fast from one point to the next and slaying enemies. I know it's like blasphemy to talk about a cover-based system in this game, but I'm just saying I enjoy that sort of pacing that is offered by a mission like this. It's far more enjoyable to me than just going into exterminate or survival and just sprinting around as fast as I can, killing as many things as I can to stay alive. Don't get me wrong, I enjoy those missions. But again, I like that sort of stop and go, like rush ahead, clear out the area. Okay, go back to the Grineer. Oh, they're getting kind of caught up. Okay, let's break line of sight. Let's engage these enemies. Let the Grineer go. I don't know. It was just more enjoyable than I think it had any right to be. And I was kind of surprised by that. But really, the icing on top of the cake here, the cheese on the cake, if you will, because I like a good cheesecake, was everything that happened with the Red Veil operatives. So I don't think this is the first time that I've had like another Syndicate show up in my mission and try and kick my ass or try and steal my objective. But it was the first time I really realized what the hell was going on. So suddenly, Red Veil Operative shows up on my comms like, hey, listen, this Grineer guy over here, he's not going to let me take any of these Grineer, but I totally need to experiment on these Grineer. All right? He pushes up his glasses a little bit. You know, I've got to experiment on these Grineer, so I'm just going to have to take one of them from you. And I'm like, who are you? No. But nonetheless, they show up, and they're way powerful, and they start kicking my ass, but I didn't let them capture any Grineer. Later on, as I'm playing that night, I go back to the Syndicates, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's a thing. I should try and see if I can offer more to the Syndicate I'm aligned to. And all of a sudden, I realize I have like negative 5,000 reputation with this one Syndicate. Oh, that Red Veil op, that's the same guys. For me, I totally understand that as you make your way through Warframe, the story missions open up, and there's a much bigger connection to storytelling and into the greater world, the greater universe that exists within Warframe, but I haven't got to experience much of that. So seeing this really basic and simple connection between the Red Veil operatives showing up in my mission and then me having negative reputation with them, that was really cool. That was kind of an eye-opening moment where the world of Warframe suddenly felt far more alive than it ever had before. There was a connection between the characters within the world and now myself as a player and the world itself. It was just a really cool moment. I know you guys have probably all had those sorts of moments in Warframe, but it was the first big one for me. And honestly, that was kind of the trigger to get me far more interested in learning about Warframe's lore. And I think for the first time after I logged off last night, I said to myself, okay, tomorrow I'll work on the Warframe video, and then I'm going to sit down, play some Warframe, you know, progress the Limbo Theorem quest a little bit further, and I'm actually going to go look up lore videos, and, you know, within reason. I don't want to spoil anything. And I'm also, I think, going to start diving a little bit deeper into guides to just kind of boost my progression within the game. It was the first time where I felt like I was going to be happy and satisfied with taking some of my learning experience away and absorbing some of that learning from other players. And that was, I think that's a big turning point for me as a player. I do think that's going to kind of boost my progress in the game a little bit more, at least my understanding of the game and damage types and so on and so forth. I know that I've learned a lot about mods, but I know there's more I can learn. And so I'm looking forward to kind of taking that next step in becoming a proper Warframe player over the next couple days, next couple weeks. At this point, I'm like so back into Warframe. I think I'm going to spend the rest of the week probably playing the game and try and finish up as much of the Limbo Theorem quest as I can. I'm really happy with my current loadout as well. Running the Vasto again. I love my Lato, whatever you want to call it. It's just a fun pistol. But man, the Vasto, the idea of a revolver, and the Gram, I've got like 100% damage boost on that thing now through a mod that I upgraded. That's just a lot of fun to use, and I'm still really enjoying playing Excalibur. In fact, more than ever, now that I'm actually making use of Excalibur's abilities far more than I ever was before. So the big question I have for you guys to close things out is in regards to mission types. What are some of your favorite mission types that have been available in Warframe? I know that this Defection mission is actually relatively recent. It was like 2017, right? And then they actually renamed it from Evacuations. And that's one of the cool things I talk about with Warframe all the time, the idea that this game is very much living history. So for me, Defection missions they're new because they're newer. You know, it's the first time I'm experiencing something because they were recently added to the game. And that's kind of the fun thing about being a new Warframe player, is that you actually are experiencing the timeline, in essence, of Warframe. Yes, it's been interrupted and modified to some extent. Some people have gone back in time, and DE's obviously made changes, but for the most part, early Warframe is like early Warframe. Yeah, there's a tutorial thrown in, but you're experiencing much of the same content. And as you make your way through the content, you're pushing further and further into the future of the game, or I guess you could say the present of the game, and getting closer and closer to content that was released just recently. You know, obviously eventually making your way to the Plains of Eidolon, which is the most recent massive content addition of the game. One of my favorite things about Warframe, without a doubt. So let me know, what are some of your favorite mission types as a longtime or new Warframe player? Which ones have just clicked with you the most, the ones that have provided you with the most enjoyment, and why? Let me know. What do you like about them? Do you like that they're more fast-paced? Do you like playing them with a friend? Do you like playing them solo? Let me know down in the comment section below. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me today, and I will see you next Wednesday for more Warframe.